Alright, you lovely people, welcome to the channel. This is San Sebastian International Film Festival where Johnny Depp is presenting Modi, a movie about Modigliani with Scamarcio. I always forget his name. It's unbelievable. Anyway, there is also Al Pacino in this movie, and it's premiering there. So this is the press conference. Let's hope that we managed to share this, at least part of it. I'm really super curious actually to hear Johnny Depp again talk about this. The last time we've seen him in a press conference was for Jean de Bourry at the Film Festival of Cannes. So it's very nice to see Johnny back in the circuit of especially European cinema. It's nice because I love European cinema.
I'd like to thank all my relatives in the
For
front
once.
row. All my relatives who came from all over the world.
No, non subito, non capiamo cazzo, non subito.
Hey,
Somebody said they don't understand shit in Italian. Or a D-I-C-K.
hey, how are you, Don?
Hanno odiato.
A ver, sí, por favor, vamos a comenzar. Arrasaldeo, buenas tardes, bienvenidos y bienvenidas a la rueda de prensa de la película Modi, 3 Days on the Wing of Madness, película que se presentará en la sección oficial de este festival, fuera de concurso. Y bueno, para hablarnos de la película tenemos aquí a una parte de su equipo. Los presento, empezando por la izquierda. Los productores, Barry Navidi y Stephen Mallet. Los intérpretes, Bruno Guéry, Luisa Rainieri, Ricardo Scamarcio. El director, Johnny Depp. Los intérpretes, Antonia Desplat y Ryan McParland. Y el productor, Stephen Daughters. Bueno, ya veo muchas manos levantadas, pero antes que nada, quizá Johnny Depp nos podría explicar un poquito por qué se pasa tras las cámaras con una película sobre Modigliani, qué es lo que le atrae de este personaje.
What attracted you to decide to make a movie on Modigliani?
What interested me initially about the idea of making the film was, a very strange phone call from Al Pacino saying, "Hey, you remember that Modigliani thing I was going to do years ago? I think you should direct it." I'm like, what do you mean? So the fact that for some reason Al saw me somehow driving this strange machine.
Yeah, a little bit of context for people that don't know. Al Pacino actually is the drive behind making this movie. He actually talked about this to Johnny Depp back in the days when they worked on Donnie Brasco. And so it's a project that he wanted to do already for 30 years. So this phone calls that the cards aligned, right? And the old friend called Johnny, I think, to direct this. It's pretty awesome, I have to say.
I mean, when Pacino speaks, you must listen. And so I ran with it, but really had no great idea what it was going to be ultimately until the pieces of the puzzle came together. That is to say, when you know who your Modi is, when you know who your Beatrice is, and Soutine, and Utrillo, and Rosalie. I mean, when you know who these characters are, for me, it made it a real sort of different experience than I had when I directed a film many years ago, The Brave. First, I didn't have to be in it, which is much more fun. But I got to sort of, more than anything, do what I think is correct with regard to filmmaking. Allow the actors to explore and by allowing the actors to explore, you then learn things. And so then the actors are telling the scene what it wants to be. And then after that, the scene starts telling the sequence what it wants to be. And then ultimately, the film is telling you what it wants to be. So it was a very different experience being just behind the camera as opposed to having to fight some sort of, directing and acting at the same time, which is horrific. That was for me.
He always has to make a little bit melodramatic in the end. It's interesting to see such a great actor, somebody that has been nominated, at least I recall once, for an Oscar, or maybe twice even. And you see what love he has for cinema, that he can still play in a smaller budget film for the sake of creating art, for the sake of exploring some possibilities. And it's interesting and reassuring to see that he still has that drive, despite the fact that probably right now he's not too interested in working in a bigger budget, but you cannot take it out of the pictures later on, because we've noticed there's a big shift in the media perception again of Johnny Depp. Like, seems like a little bit these older days were, the Me Too and Believe All Women, and after the trial that he finally cleared his name, it's paying off also in the stain that the mainstream media kept perpetrating, kept on sharing just as default, right? As a sort of default ideal, not to go away from that kind of doctrine, right, that they've embraced, that you must believe all women and so on and so forth. So that is changing, and it's positive for Johnny. Next.
Hola, Johnny. Buenas tardes. Hola.
Buonasera, Johnny.
Hola. Me levanto. Hola, Johnny. ¿Cómo estás? Quería preguntarte, estamos hablando de un artista del siglo pasado, pero creo que la película es muy actual en muchas reflexiones que vuelcas. El Johnny Depp rico y famoso que conocemos ahora ha pasado por penurias como las que refleja la película del artista que no tiene ni para comer muchas veces. ¿Nos cuentas un poco?
She says the film is very actual in many ways, but she asks Johnny Depp, how does Johnny Depp basically relate to this movie, the Johnny Depp we know that is rich and famous, to the artist of the past that didn't even have money to eat, basically?
¿Cómo empezaste?
Thank you. That's you see a lot in the film. Thank you. My beginning was an accident. That is not to say that my parents made an accident. That's just, maybe they did. I never really had the conversation. However, my beginning in movies, acting, whatever, was by accident, and it was a moment where, there's an expression, it's called when the rubber meets the road. When the tires are on the road and you take off and you split, you drive. There's something beautiful to me about those days living in a tiny studio apartment just off Hollywood Boulevard in a dangerous neighborhood. Those days are, it's like reading Movable Feast by Hemingway. They're romantic days. They were tough, they were rough, they were ugly, they were weird, it was all kinds of stuff, but they were beautiful. So, to capture someone who's in the midst of earning their stripes in life, as it were, you know, and to be a witness, to bear witness to 3 days in this particular artists and these people's lives. And each has their story, because sure, we can say that I've been through a number of things here and there, but you know, I'm all right. And I think we've all been through a number of things. Ultimately, maybe yours didn't turn into a soap opera. I mean, televised, in fact, and all that. But we all experience and go through what we go through, and those things that we are able to live and remember and use. These are your stripes. You never forget them. So to see these people all on the teetering on the verge of earning their stripes and desperate to speak but unable to, in a way. You know. But it only works for me. It only worked for me because this cast was able to deliver something that you can, I mean, one shouldn't have expectations at all on it in any sense, but man, to be able to watch these actors out there feeling free enough to try anything and take the story further was, for me, I realized my job was not a director at all. I was merely there to capture, you know. I was just there to snap that instant, you know.
Well, he paid a lot of compliments to his actors. I talk a little bit in between so that, you know, makes enough sense for the YouTube algorithm and so on and so forth to come across as commentary. So I apologize. I'll make it brief. Very beautiful, the part of, you know, the romantic years. And wow, I'm sure a lot of people, a lot of us relate to that in the way that, of course, the romantic years, but why are they so beautiful? I think one thing that I would add, even though those times are tough, but you're young. That's what it is. There is still growth in you. There's still actually the body when you're 18, 17, 19, still needs to finish to grow, right, into an adult. And in that time, there's so much beauty, so much potential. And the people that manage to channel it in a better way sometimes turn out to be great artists, right? Or do great things, and still you remember the time, because most likely it's going to be one of the best time of your existence, because you're young, man. The youth is a treasure that is invaluable, right? It's just there is nothing that that can compare. Maybe just having basically children. For those that love children, will compare or be better, most likely.
What happens next? Sorry.
Sí, ahí al lado de la cámara.
Yeah, an applause. That was actually a very nice reply that he gave. Those people are stiff, man.
Hi, Johnny. Question here from Brazil, Rodrigo Fonseca, Correio da Manhã. Congratulations
Hey, Brazil
on an
in the
amazing
house.
film. I have two questions for you. First one, how to look at Modigliani's art after a movie like that? I think for us, it won't be the same experience, but I'd like to hear from you. And the second question, the funny sequence of the escape in the beginning of the film and some other black and white shootings made me think a lot about Chaplin and his influence. I would like to hear you about Chaplin and if it probably was an influence to the film. Thank you very much.
All right, we got somebody that actually is a film buff.
So, it was what did I think about
Afterwards.
After the film. Well, amazingly, I mean, for an artist that I've been well aware of and kind of greatly fascinated with for a number of years, like a lot of years, I learned so much more even after having read about Modigliani and his life, and a lot of these artists as well in the past. But I learned, I suppose I learned a lot more about Modigliani and the refusal, the absolute refusal to compromise his vision for anything. And there's, I mean, we certainly deal with that in the film, but he was not. I mean, it was a time when everyone was, because Cubism happened in 1907, and then all this, you know, Duchamp with the new Descending the Staircase, which basically represents cinema. But
What a great time.
He just never budged. And the idea of the silent cinema moments it was kind of like, you know, when you think about, well, yeah, Vincent van Gogh, Monet, all the Impressionists. It was a moment that came out of essentially like the birth of photography, right? So in a way, as the early 20th century was the birth of cinema, and sometimes we all have to see our lives as some kind of strange cinema, you know. So yeah, it was a salute, but also a kind of, because it was so new, cinema, it affected painting just as photography did. So that was the addition of that. And the rest I just stood around and watched, basically.
Sí, tenemos ahí, señorita, aquí delante, sí.
Enhorabuena por la película. Quisiera preguntar a los actores aquí presentes cómo ha sido vuestra participación en el proceso creativo del que hablaba el director, y también si el director es especialmente maniático o meticuloso con algún aspecto. Gracias.
They ask how was to work with Johnny Depp, and if he was
You've been reading my
obsessive
mail.
or meticulous, was basically difficult to work with.
Or were related. Well, yeah, I'm afraid I
suppose
can't
it's
answer
my
that
turn.
question. There's nothing I can say here.
No, but for me, it's been, of course, like an incredible journey to do this movie, because Johnny is a director that makes you feel safe and free. Allowed you to really push yourself to the limit, and but you feel that kind of love, and you feel protected, and so you're really there to give him everything. It's been like a
Nice,
dream
man.
become true.
Wow.
Because of course I was like a huge fan of Johnny.
Yeah, of course.
As an actor.
Me too.
And to see, for me, that to meet him and to see the person that I've met during this journey, it's like, whoa. So I've been like training myself in all those years in the good direction, in the, you know, in this kind of attitude where you basically, you really want to deal with creation, and you don't care about what the result it will be. So there is nothing to show why you're making a movie. You know, there is no space for red carpets, pictures and clothes and all those things that I'm not judging anything, but you know, is a real sharing of intimate things. And this has been for me wonderful, and also to work with all my other friends, and of course with Al and everyone, the producers. So thank you all of you. Grazie.
What an endorsement, man. That was a great endorsement. Very humble.
The beauty of this was that Johnny allowed us the freedom of collaborating, and for us actors to have a voice as artists too, which is not often the case. And he sort of encouraged us to sort of bring in our little ingredients to add to the soup. And then he created a sort of very safe playground for us to just be free, to experience, to feel, to fail, to laugh, to try things that may not work. And you know, sometimes we did one scene a day, which I think is a very rare thing to do when you're on a movie set. So we had an extreme amount of time to sort of play around, and he trusted us and we trusted him, and that was so beautiful.
Wow.
I was very, very lucky. I am very lucky, even.
Yeah.
Singular experience for me. Very singular, very organic, which does happen, of course, in cinema, but this was a very organic process is the process, but this was a very organic sort of grouping, and things just happened without any. No one needed to go to anyone into anything. Things just happened.
Right, that's an approach.
And these very talented people ran with it, you know. So again, I feel like the luckiest guy in the world to have been able to just simply capture behavior and reactions and life to its minutiae through their eyes. I feel very lucky. Ryan?
I think everybody said what I was going to say already. No, for me, a kid who grew up in Ireland and dropped out of school and started working in the theatre, this experience for me has been one of the most fulfilling and rewarding experiences I may ever have as an actor.
Wow.
And it's down to everyone's talent and hard work throughout the whole film and production. But working with Johnny is beyond my wildest dreams. Also to be in a film with Al Pacino, and you know, Johnny created such a space for us to explore, to experiment, to feel, to find the new, to capture these accidents that would happen from purely only being in the moment. And for me, I got advice from a French actor, Vincent Cassel, about 10 years ago, shooting in Italy, and he stopped me mid-scene. Maybe he doesn't remember, but he said to me that you should take a risk here in this moment. And he was right. I'd sort of shied away from it for fear or whatever. And I said to myself, from this moment on, I will continue to take risks. And this is one thing that dear Johnny encouraged us to do, which was to take risks with the work, to take risks with the performance, and to be free. And that for me will live with me for the rest of my life. And to that end, thank you.
Yes. Maybe Bruno and Bruno and Luisa also
Bruno.
want to-
Yes, so with my broken English, what can I say more? Maybe I can say to you that one of the most important thing for me as an actor is that Johnny gives you the feeling that you are at the same level. That confidence gives you so many opportunity to show your fantasy, because he makes you feel comfortable. And there is a sentence of an Italian actor named Eduardo. Eduardo was saying, if you are looking for the style, you find the death. But if you are looking for the life, you will find the style. And with Johnny, we are looking for life. We are looking for the truth. And for me, it was so precious. And so, merci, Johnny.
Eduardo, I wonder if he's talking about...
So now for me it's very difficult, you know. I speak in Italian because it's better for me. Sono molto emozionata di essere qui perché quando Johnny mi ha offerto questo ruolo pensavo fosse uno scherzo.
When Johnny offered me this job, I thought it was
E quando
a
l'ho
joke.
incontrato,
When I met him,
insomma, sono stata felicissima di essere
I
a
was
bordo di questo
absolutely
bellissimo
happy
progetto. La
to be on
sceneggiatura
board
era
this project.
bellissima, felice di condividere questo progetto con
and happy to share this
attori
project with those
incredibili,
actors,
con questo regista
with this director,
bravissimo,
incredible director,
che ci ha sempre teso una mano in scena,
that always
e
helped
questo
us
è
on the scene.
impagabile, perché ti mette sempre nella posizione di fare meglio, dare il meglio di te.
That always allowed us,
Ci tenevo a
was
dire
always
che ho
there to
incontrato
allow us to do
anche,
our best.
una cosa che non mi aspettavo, non so perché non me l'aspettavo, ma
One thing I
una
didn't
cosa che mi ha
expect,
sorpreso,
but that
ho
surprised
trovato
me,
gentilezza e
was
ho trovato tanta umanità. E volevo anche
kindness,
dire che Riccardo, noi ci
gentleness and
conosciamo da molto
kindness
tempo,
and
ma
humanity.
non abbiamo mai avuto modo di lavorare insieme in Italia, ma sono stata felice di essere un po' testimone di quanto è bravo e quanto talento e passione ha messo in questo ruolo. Insomma,
I never worked
good
with
luck.
Riccardo Scamarcio in Italy, but I was happy to notice how much passion
Grazie, Johnny.
he puts in the work to basically be witness to his talent. Yeah, Scamarcio is a very well-known Italian actor. He's been in a lot of
Well, first of all,
TV series and
congratulations for such a
movies. He's
lovely
considered
film. I want to
one of the
ask
best
to
Italian
Mr.
actors
Depp,
of the last
it's been 27
so many
years.
years.
And you directed Brave, and during this period of time, during this phase, you have collaborated with a lot of directors as an actor. So I wanted to know how this experience have shaped you as a director. Thank you.
It's allowed me to be able to really see and experience, that sort of to basically be a giant toddler as I am, and to understand that, in order to, I don't know, make a film, it should be, when you're making a film, at the very least, it's got to be fun. So, as I said before, when I was doing the Brave 27 years ago, man, when I finished that film, the last thing that I wanted to do was ever attempt to direct a film again. Too much math, man. Like, just the mathematics, this has to coincide and correlate with that and this and that, and then you find yourself in some structure a whole, you know, like, and I don't want to be in, I don't know. With The Brave, I don't know what I did. I don't know what the structure is because I don't approach it that way. With this, for me, it's like, ultimately, it's like music, you know. Again, like the melody or the chords are gonna dictate what you put on as the next layer in terms of like recording music. So the same thing with this film. It was kind of an opportunity to go, okay, I don't have to do shit except sit here and watch these actors live and behave. And
I mean, honestly, I have to say though, Johnny doesn't take credit. I mean, he knows what he's doing, and he's an experienced actor. He's an experienced actor in general, probably also as a director, because he's been in gigantic productions. He knows this stuff through and through. And obviously, when you have to be a director yourself, referring to The Brave, yes, especially if you come from a point of view of the standard of Hollywood productions, even if it was a smaller budget, you still probably had confinement of times and schedules and all those things that are organized in their way, which to some extent must have been also the case on this set, because, you know, you cannot just randomly do shit. You have to organize, you have to organize the dates of shooting, the locations and the people and so on and so forth. So it's still a lot of work, but it's interesting to see that seems like they really did a fun project, a loving project, right? And I hope it succeeds. Honestly, I really hope it succeeds and it came out well.
just react simply and live. So yeah, I found it much easier. So yeah, I had a much better, I would say an infinitely more positive experience on this. This every day was a gas because I got to learn from these guys, you know. They bring things in and it was like, oh my God, which would change that would even change, you know, sometimes the direction of the next sequence or two. But I'll never do it again. Never again. No, I might. Sorry, I apologize, I might. I'm sorry.
Lamentablemente tenemos que terminar porque el equipo tiene una agenda muy apretada hoy. Entonces, ya sé que nos gustaría muchísimo estar más tiempo con ellos, pero el festival tiene un ritmo bastante frenético. Solo desearles muchísima suerte con la película. Estamos encantados de que hayan venido a San Sebastián y nos vemos pronto. Muchísimas gracias.
Gracias.
All right. Looking forward to see this movie, man. Really, really do.